State officials say that they're aware of a few different scams related to the COVID-19 vaccine, all of them intended to take advantage of people. And as more people become eligible for the COVID-19 vaccine this week, the concern is that more people will become vulnerable. Scammers using the COVID-19 vaccine as an excuse to get people to hand over personal information. It's happening online, over the phone, and even through the mail.
Anybody can be the victim of a scam. I think there's a misconception out there that, scammers might target vulnerable populations or older people, but it's really not true. They will target anybody they think they might be able to take advantage of.
State officials say one scheme they're aware of involves people claiming to be from Pfizer or Moderna.
Offering a reward if you take a survey. And then typically at the end of the survey, they'll say, put in your bank account information, your credit card information, so we can transfer you money.
Some people have also received letters in the mail claiming to be from the governor's office, suggesting vaccines are dangerous and directing people to a site where they may be scammed. The state says scammers will also pose as vaccinators and ask for sensitive information, which should be a red flag that something isn't right.
As more people become eligible for the vaccine, don't give out your social security number. Nobody from a legitimate vaccine site will ask for that. You don't have to pay for the vaccine. Don't give out your credit card information.
More and more police departments are also becoming aware of scams. New London Police posted a warning online. The Norwich Police Department says in some instances, people have gotten calls from scammers claiming to be able to get them the vaccine faster for a certain amount of money.
There is no way to get ahead of the line. There's a reason why the governor has instituted these protocols, and it's important that we follow.
So what should you do if you come across any of these scams?
So it's important if you do get a call and someone is looking for that type of information, just to hang up right away.
You should also report it to local law enforcement, the Office of Consumer Protection, or the Attorney General's office. Officials say if you do give out your information, don't be ashamed, but you should call your bank and one of the big credit reporting agencies so that they can put a freeze on your credit and a fraud alert. In Hartford, Gabby Molina, Fox 61 News.